Good morning and welcome to Saturday's special of Dr. Lamba's Awakening. Islam is the second largest religion of the world, and yet people all over look at it from a different angle. Especially the Islamic treatment of women, at least the perceived treatment, is often a subject of criticism. Is it a fact that Islam treats women as second citizens? Why is polygamy permitted in Islam? And so on and so forth. Now, if we look at the historical background and the ethical background as well as the cultural issues, then we'll see that Islam has, in fact, in reality, given a position of importance to women, much more than the ancient Judaism and Christianity ever gave. If you study the Talmuds or you go to the Orthodox Judaism, you would find that the women had practically no rights. Even now, in Orthodox Jewish, women have to cover their head. They have to live separately. So was Christianity. So why is it that in all the Abrahamic religions, Islam is condemned? The question was raised yesterday by a friend, Mr. Singh Jaspal, that how did the concept of four women evolve? And this is a criticism which is often levied that the gender equality is not there, that the evidence of one man is equal to evidence by two women. Now, the practice of polygamy in Islam was created for the purpose of taking care of fatherless children or orphans, and it was primarily allowed for charitable and honorable purposes. The position of Islam on polygamy is clear. A man is legally permitted to have up to 4 wives. However, the permission is restricted by Quran, saying that the justice must be done. And if a man fears injustice, he must be content with one wife only. And then it's not only that. To have a second marriage, the man has to seek permission of the first wife or divorce her and then marry a second time. Without the permission of the first wife, he cannot marry a second wife. And then he has to treat all women equally. Muhammad himself married 4 times, and he married each one of his wives for a social or political purpose. For example, in one case he wanted to honor the women, pious women, and then he wanted the loyalty of other tribes so that Islam would separate against them. And that practice has been all over the world. The British kings, Tudor times, married the Spanish princess because of the Spain was a stronger country and they wanted a friend. And they married the other class in India. It was a common practice to extend your empire by marrying the daughter of a supposed enemy. So this was something very common, and the only thing is that Muhammad institutionalized it. Now, one thing which is often forgotten and ignored, that in Islam, sororal polygamy is prohibited, is banned. You cannot marry 2 sisters, a woman, or a descendant of her sibling. But even when 4 marriages are allowed, if we look at the traditional Islamic scholarship, classical Islamic schools, we will find that the opinions are not in favor of multiple marriages. They uphold the notion that the Islamic law permits polygamy, but they enforce the divine command to marry only one when the man fears being unable to fulfill the rights of 2 in a fair manner. And a substantial segment of the Islamic scholarship elaborates on the ruling that men who are able to ensure complete equality among their multiple wives are only to marry. Now, this opinion is derived from performing istijhad. Istijhad is independent legal reasoning, which determines the belief that is to be deemed preferable even for the male individual who is capable of delivering justice to refrain from having more than one wife. So even when you want to do justice, the reasoning is that you should have one wife. And this has been codified in the official position of Hanbali and Shafi schools of jurisprudence. These are the two major schools of jurisprudence in Islam, Hanbali and Shafi. And they assert that it is held highly recommendable that Muslim may have only one wife, even if he may act honorably and honestly with justice with more than one wife. As Sharbini from the Shafi school of jurisprudence said, and I am quoting from Mughni al-Multai, chapter 4, verse 207. It is sunnah not to marry more than one wife if there is no apparent need. So need would be what? You don't have a child, a son to carry the name. The wife is barren. So that's one. The wife is ill, cannot work for you. Fine. There's an orphan girl. She has to be protected. Marry her. So these are the charitable human relationship, and that's what, as Sharbani says, that even when you can do it, and if there is no apparent need, you are not to marry. Then from the same Shafi school of jurisprudence, Al-Mawadi says that Allah has permitted a man to marry up to 4 wives. But Allah has advised that it is desirable for man to marry only one wife, saying, if you fear you will not be just, marry only one. And this is very clearly mentioned in Al-Hawi Al-Kabir, chapter 11, verse 417. Then Hanbali school of jurisprudence, Ibn Qudmaya writes in that, and he quotes as Shafi Al-Kabir, it is appropriate to have only one wife. And then he says, if you fear you will not be just, marry only one. And this was authored by Shamsuddin of Qudma. He is very clear about that. Imam Ahmad al-Nadib at Masri from Scottish school says, it is fitted to confine oneself to just one wife. And lastly, I'll quote another Imam, Ghazali. He said it does not call for 2 wives, since the plurality may render wife miserable and disrupt the affairs at home. This is Kitab al-Nikah, Ulma-ul-Din. Now, looking at the jurisprudence, looking at what the traditions had been, and looking at the need, and don't forget, when Islam started, it was in a tribal region. There was a need to protect people, as in India even. You remember, the kings used to have, and the nobles and the kings, and practically even the middle class people, used to have 1, 2, 3, multiple wives. Polygamy, the only difference is that while polygamy was slowly and steadily removed in other countries, it was not. But then, don't forget it, now, in most of the countries, Malaysia, Indonesia, Pakistan, it's a crime, civil crime, to have multiple wives. You can't have more wives. So that polygamy has been a thing of the past, and slowly the gender equality is taking place. Now coming to the second part. Muhammad says that only those people can go to heaven who have daughters. Now here is a very curious thing. Men marry the second time because they want to have a son. So this is now the material world and the spiritual world. Muhammad very clearly stated. And the impactful change of Muhammad in Islamic society, especially in Arabic society, was a revolution regarding women's rights. Arab society in the pre-Islamic era was buried in superstitions and dogmas, as is every society. Women were disrespected, treated no more than commodity. They had no inheritance rights, no marriage rights. But then in India also, women didn't have inheritance rights till recently. The Hindu Code Bill, brought in by Nehru, for the first time gave them the inheritance rights. Earlier, the dowry was given and that finished it. So you give a gift and deprive her of it. In Christianity, they had no inheritance rights, and even now, till recently, they didn't have the voting rights. They were not equal at all. It would be incorrect to say that there are little or no rights at all. And that word, when the husband died, the guardian would cover the wife of the deceased with a garment, and she could not remarry till he permitted her. But don't you know that in Punjab, even this chadar pana, covering the head of women, say, the elder brother dies, the younger brother goes and puts the dupatta on the wife, on his former sister-in-law, and marries her. So this has been practically in all the areas, in all the religions at one time or the other. The only thing is there was a quantum jump in some religions and not in others. In Indian, the sati system was one of the most cruel systems. Unfortunately, the spirit of reform did not pervade the most fundamental part, but those Taliban who say women should not be there, they are in fact violating the injunctions of Muhammad. In those days, Arab did not only deprive the women of inheritance, but even killed her. You know that. That's a fact. The narrative reports the episode of a father and his Quran. He was away traveling when his wife gave birth. When he came up, he took his grown-up daughter because he thought that she is born out of wedlock, she's a bastard. So he dug a hole and taking her by surprise, pushed her into it and covered her with dust. And she screamed for pity. But his heart didn't soften. And this episode is captured in Quran. 81, 8 to 9 verse. And then the girl who was buried alive is asking for the sin. For what sin she was killed. So Muhammad criticized these activities. And then in such a society, Muhammad established not just a religion of God, what he calls, but a code of life. That's the most important thing. For the first time in that tribal society, a code of life was established. This code was based on love, generosity, compassion, and rights of every member of the society. And in his lifetime, through his advice, he championed the cause of women, advocated love and respect for them, mothers, wives, daughters, and emphasized their status having equal share in humanity. He drove change by saying that, no, imagine, that's possible. The only religion he says that paradise is under the feet of the mother. And that indicates that a person who wants to achieve the ultimate goal of paradise would need to love, respect, and serve his mother. He also said that the paradise is reserved for them who raise 4 daughters. Nay, even if a person raised 1 daughter, paradise was definite. But the reservation would be if you have 4 daughters. But if you have 1 daughter, fine. So the persons who kill daughters in Islam are basically acting against the injunctions of Muhammad. And these instructions of Muhammad set the tone for men to cover their daughter and accord her the respect she deserved. He advised men to prefer their daughters over their sons while distributing gifts. Say that they go on a journey, they come back with gifts. So the first right of the gifts is that of the daughters. The post-Islamic era, women were permitted to choose their spouses, and parents were directed to seek their daughter's consent before marriage. No nikah can be completed if that girl says, no, I don't want to marry. It's another thing, and I agree that the parents coerce, force. Muhammad was a compassionate human being according to this. In Quran 3 and verse 159 testifies, it's the mercy of Allah that you, O Prophet, deal gently with them. Were you severe or harsh, they would have broken away from you. He dwelt well with his daughters and his wife. He had very good relations with his daughter. And he encouraged his followers to do the same. He advised men very clearly, and I quote, support them, do not raise your hands on them, do not indulge into divorce. And he says, the Quran is very clear that is the most detestable act in the eye of God, having a divorce. So the lessons from the life of Muhammad and his message have to be put in practice. And Quran 33.21 says, indeed, in the messenger of Allah, you have an excellent example to follow. So, Islam per se does not discriminate against women, rather venerates it. As a matter of fact, as I said earlier, that Judaism, ancient Judaism and ancient Christianity were much more harsh. And even today, Orthodox Jewish is much more harsh. On the one side, of course, Judaism says that women are they have more intuition. Now imagine, they have more intuition, they don't have logic. So you give them something, you withdraw something. Now you would naturally ask a question, why is it that women are then degraded? This is the impact of male dominance. Misinterpret, misjudge, and then come to a decision. The fault is not of religion, but its interpretation. There can be 101 mistakes in any religion, and most of the religions are not up to the mark as far as the modern life is concerned. They leave much to be desired. So does Islam. So does any religion. But to castigate Islam only for this reason is to err on the wrong side, for the simple reason people are not aware, and the Muslims have been very, very hidebound, majority of them. And what's happening in Saudi Arabia now, all the limitations are being slowly and steadily removed. Women are coming at power, even in Pakistan, even in Indonesia, Malaysia. Look at it. So, women have a place of respect, veneration. It's a misinterpretation, a misquoting the religion to exploit women. Thank you.